Today, we are digging into a really fascinating and frankly tough investigation from 9chan at Action News. It's a story that asks a pretty simple question, but one with some incredibly complicated answers. When you're in the highest office in the land, where does that line between family loyalty and public duty actually get drawn? Let's unpack what they found.
And this quote from an anonymous source deep inside the investigation really just sets the whole stage. It gets right to the heart of the conflict here. This idea that a promise to clean up Washington might have been twisted into a golden opportunity for a very, very select few.
You know, the core of this night at a court is all about a massive irony. The signature promise that first brought this administration to power was drain the swamp, right? But what this investigation alleges is that since the January 2025 inauguration, the First family's business portfolio has just exploded in value. I mean, a historic boom. So what's really going on here?
To try and answer that, the 9chan report does what any good investigation does. It follows the money. They started mapping out this incredibly complex web of corporate board seats in business ventures. And we're not talking about just one or two companies here. This is a strategic move into multiple, high-growth sectors of our economy. Let's take a look at who's involved and in what.
Okay, so right here is where you can start to see a pattern taking shape. I mean, look at how strategic these positions are. You've got Donald Jr. and Eric in fintech and data analytics. Don Jr. is also on the board of a drone company, which has obvious military applications. Eric has a big foothold in the crypto and blockchain world. And then Jared Kushner is involved in building products and international trade. See the theme? Each of these roles is right at the intersection of technology, finance, and government policy.
So yeah, the really crucial point here is that pattern. There's a clear focus on industries that are not only super profitable, but are also heavily influenced by government regulation and spending. We're talking high-tech, crypto, defense, international trade. It's a portfolio that seems perfectly set up to benefit from decisions made in Washington. But as the report details, the power you get from that kind of position might be just as important as the profit.
And that right there brings us to the absolute heart of this investigation. Look, it's one thing to have business interests, lots of people do, but it's something else entirely when those interests just so happen to align perfectly with major policy shifts coming straight from the White House. So 9chan asked the tough question, is this just smart business, or is the actual process of making policy being bent? Take this number, for instance, a 15% hike in the defense budget, and not over a year, but in just the first 100 days. That is a massive injection of cash into the very sectors like drones and defense tech where the family suddenly has a major presence. A coincidence? Maybe. But the numbers that come next are, well, they're pretty startling. And here is the alleged result of that budget hike. According to market filings that the report cites, these family-linked ventures saw their valuations just skyrocket. We're talking an estimated 300% increase right after the inauguration. So you've got a 15% budget increase, followed by a 300% valuation surge for connected companies. That's the kind of correlation that investigators say you simply cannot ignore.
Now, as you can imagine, the experts are totally split on this. On one side, you have a Georgetown political economist who calls it a classic conflict of interest, saying it just destroys public trust. But on the other side, a pro-Trump business analyst sees it as just smart capitalism. Their argument is that the family's name and expertise naturally bring these opportunities, and hey, no laws are actually being broken. The report lays out both sides for you to consider.
But this is where the 9chan investigation really takes a dark turn. It doesn't just stop with the money. It starts asking, what could the fusion of this specific technology, this amount of wealth, and this closeness to political power actually mean for the country? And it explores a possibility that is frankly chilling and goes way beyond just making a profit.
Right. Because the report starts to speculate that maybe the goal isn't just to monetize the swamp, but to control it, to repurpose the very same technologies that are driving all these profits into tools of power.
I mean, just think about it for a second. The drones from Unusual Machines, they could be used for surveillance, for monitoring protests. The data analytics from Dominary Holdings, it could be weaponized to create profiles on political critics, or maybe even journalists. And the blockchain platforms, in theory, they could be used to track and even freeze financial support for any kind of opposition.
So the report lays out this hypothetical, but honestly, pretty frightening three-step process. First, you monitor dissent using drones and data. Step 2, you use that data to profile your opponents, building files on them. And then, step 3, you use financial tech to cut off their funding. It's a vision of control that's less about brute force and more about a quiet, technological suppression.
So where does all this leave us? At the end of this deep dive, the 9chat investigation has laid out the connections, it's followed the money, and it's outlined the potential risks. And what it does is it brings that central question right back to us, to the public. Is this a story about a family's incredible business sense? Or is it a betrayal of the very ideas that brought them to power in the first place?
This is really the whole thing in a nutshell, isn't it? Is this just sharp, aggressive capitalism playing right up to the edge of the law but never crossing it? Or does the simple appearance of profiting from public office count as a kind of corruption, no matter what's technically legal or not?
To even begin to find an answer, the report ends with a call to action. And it's a simple one: full transparency. The argument is that the only way the American public can truly understand what's happening between the White House and this billion-dollar family enterprise is through independent audits and crystal-clear disclosures.
And that leaves us with this final, really haunting question from the article. When technology and profit and political power get this tangled up together, who is watching the watchers? It's a question that forces us all to think about the real price of power and what it takes to protect the basic principles of a free and open society.